Okay everyone, apologies to begin with, this episode is incredibly boring. A bit of effort to it, but when I'm making it I realised it was really boring. So yeah, if you fall asleep, I'm sorry. Didn't mean for it to be boring, but it's really boring. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. Hey everyone, Arch Unit here. Today's topic is when you built or bought yourself a new computer and you're looking to play games on it. You need a graphics card for that kind of thing, and you might not have any money left. You might have very little money, and you have to make the choice between buying a very cheap card or maybe a second-hand one to upgrade your PC. Now, all the cards in today's video are NVIDIA cards. It's not because I'm a fanboy, but I probably am. It's just because I had two of them, had to buy a cheap one, and I could borrow the rest. So, okay, so the cards we're going to be looking at are sort of maxing out at sort of 60 quid. First off is the GT 730. I got the 1GB RAM version. A very old GT 8800. A rather venerable old GTX 275. Which you can find quite easily for sort of 30 quid. A GTX 660, which you can find for 60 quid. It's a little bit harder, most of them are more, but you can find them. You just got to like search around a little bit and be patient, but it is possible, and that's going to be the best card we're going to have today. Now, to test these sorts of cards, it's no point trying a game like Broforce or Five Nights at Freddy's, because they don't really have any graphical power whatsoever, or requirements even. And on the other hand, it's not much point trying to play games like Doom or anything, because things like cheap cards and old cards are just going to struggle to play them anyway. So we're going to be using a slightly older game, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It's a great little game, and we're playing it on hard settings to get to see what can do what. Here's the specs for what we're playing on. Not great, but it shouldn't pose as a bottleneck for the cards we're trying. The first card we're going to be trying is the GT 8800 from way back in
2007.
It's got no HDMI, so I can't record any of the footage. So I took some snapshots as I played. It got all the way down to 18 frames per second, but was generally around 25, 26 when not doing anything too taxing, so that was fine. Next up is my old GTX 275, bit of high power card, and this had no problems whatsoever. I'm pretty sure this card came out only a few years before the game did, so on high settings, on high settings, it really didn't have a problem at all. Never went below 35 frames per second. Absolutely crushed. Had all, have all sorts of things going on, explosions and all that sort of jazz. Not a problem. Played really good. Now we came to the new GT 730, a brand new card you can buy right now from the shops for around 50 quid, and it played like absolute garbage. Even when you're just sort of virtually standing still, walking slowly, it couldn't even manage the frame rate of the 10-year-old GT 8800. It struggled with everything, went all the way down to about 13 frames per second. It was completely unplayable, even by the most generous standards. Even if you wanted to, now of course you could have like lowered the graphic requirements, but if it's struggling with a 4-year-old game on high settings, it's clearly not going to play anything. Next up is the GTX 660. This is a much better card. It came up at the same sort of time as the game. It's another powered card, and it absolutely crushed it. I mean, pretty much, even with all this kind of stuff going on and chopping dudes up and shooting dudes in the face, still getting a good 100 frames per second without even thinking about it. It just played button smooth, and I couldn't really do anything on this game at the same high settings where the frame rate dropped below sort of 95 frames per second. It absolutely crushed it. And this is obviously a new card. You can pick these up for like 50-60 quid easy without any problems whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: if you have got like a shop bought PC with an absolute joke power supply, is it a case that to play games properly you're gonna have to buy a new power supply? I mean, you don't want to buy one that's too cheap because it'll probably end up killing your computer. But you know, these things add up. You know, buying a card and a PSU, it's all money, money, money. You know, are there any options where you don't have to buy a PSU? And quite handily, we have this GTX 650, which is a non-powered card. It's basically the 660 on a bit of a diet. You don't get the same performance. Frame rate wise, you know, topping out at 50, but never really dropping much below 40. So about half the performance. But even when things got really wild, nothing even close to 30 really, and it very reliable. Played for ages, didn't overheat or anything. It's a great little card. I was very much impressed with it, and you can buy these quite cheaply, and they're quite easy to get cheaply as well. It's not like the 660 where you have to look around to find out the sort of price you want. But again, at the same settings, was really good. You know, I think if you're really hard on money, definitely the one I might consider. Yeah, just get yourself onto eBay. No option. They do come in powered and non-powered versions. I didn't have a powered version of the 650 to try, but always worth checking if you haven't got a good power supply. Just check to see if it does need. I mean, this one here, £25 is the version I think I've got. So now some people might be saying, well, that 730 you tried, which is really rubbish, isn't really meant for more big big normal PC case. Maybe it's made for small cases like desktops, just to add a bit more graphical power. You know, like the potato machine I used in a previous video. Well, I tried fitting it to one and I couldn't, because the oh so important passive heatsink wouldn't let the card fit in there. Took a sword to it. It now fits, but you know what, I can't be bothered to even try it. I think it's a rubbish. I think if you're having to saw a card's heatsink down to fit it, you might as well get a riser card, take a saw to your case. And I really despise the way this card is advertised. It goes on about having 1 gigabyte of RAM. Well, the 8800 has half the amount of memory but performs better. It doesn't matter how much RAM you've got, if your processor on your card isn't fast enough to utilize it, it's all just a waste really. Yeah, really unimpressed with this card. I don't like the way it's advertised as this claws like breaking out, so powerful. It's a complete piece of shit. I mean, the only reason you'd have this card is if your VGA port on your current computer broke down and you need an extra port, but otherwise